I'm Terrence James. You're watching another episode of Neutral Reviews, where we do real reviews for real decisions. And today we are looking at the 2023 Volkswagen ID.4 All-Wheel Drive Pro. And I have borrowed the keys for this vehicle from Leavens Volkswagen in London, Ontario, who are known as the nice guys for a reason because they have a welcoming atmosphere, amazing customer service, and who also offer some of the most well-engineered and practical vehicles on the road today, including this one. Now, if you follow this show, this format's going to be a little bit different today because, as you can see, it's cold. So we're going to do most of this review from the inside. So let's go. Okay, much warmer in here. So Volkswagen's ID, or intelligently designed new EV brand, has finally come to North America, and the ID.4 is North America's first fully electric Volkswagen. Now, what Volkswagen says is they've actually created this vehicle to be for the millions and not the millionaires, and they've created it to drive like a GTI, have the packaging of the Tiguan, but give you the purpose of the original rear-wheel drive Beetle that was built for the masses. Now, if you're going to build an EV nowadays for the masses of people that are still driving gasoline-powered SUVs, you have to make a familiar-looking design. So that comes with a compromise because it is going to be awfully hard to push that little brick through the air like these teardrop shapes that you see in most of the EVs. And because they kept that traditional shape, not only for familiarity, but for space and size, for cargo and passenger volumes, you're going to push the dash and everything forward, so you're going to lose that handy frunk that everyone likes on these EV vehicles. And because this is built to a price point, because they're now offering that amazing 62 kilowatt hour battery rear-wheel drive base model to give you a nice entry point into EV to open up the market, it's not going to have that same acceleration party trick like some of the other EVs that have become so well known for that. But what we do get is a very well-built EV for more people. So let's take a look. We'll give you the facts, feels, and final thoughts. We give you our facts up front, test out how they feel, and then give you our final thoughts. So let's take a look. Okay, so let's go over the facts first, and what we're going to do is we're going to give you the facts for the all-wheel drive Pro version, but on the screen we'll try to show you what the base version has as well on that rear-wheel drive. So on the all-wheel drives, you're going to look at the dual motor setup, front and rear, and it's going to use that bigger 82 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is capable of producing 295 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque, which is capable of rocketing this 4,800 pound boxy little brick from 0 to 60 in around 6.2 seconds, Volkswagen says, but Road and Track and many others have this closer to the low fives. And after driving, we'll talk about in the fields, I would say that's probably closer to the case. Also, you are looking at level 1, 2, and DC charging on this. Of course, that level 1 is going to take you forever. You know, overnight you might get around 20% or so. So depending on how you drive and where you go, that could be totally useful for you. But most people are going to spend the money and buy that level 2 charger for their house and get that installed. And with that being so, you're going to be able to charge this up overnight, essentially around 7.5 hours. And with DC fast charging, this is pretty quick. Actually, you can go from around 20% to 80% in around half an hour. So again, this is leading the charge, so to speak, and is pretty good in those categories. Now, all that power has to run through nowadays a direct drive transmission at 1 speed, and keeps on running through their 4Motion all-wheel drive system. So of course this is a little bit different setup with the electric motors, but it works really, really well. Also, we have to steer. So when we're steering, it uses electronic rack and pinion steering, of course, nowadays for all those fancy electronic features. And it steers a wide range of rims, but on this version here, not today because these are the snow tires, they do have the Electra 20-inch aluminum alloy wheel package on there, which looks really, really good on the Pro version of the all-wheel drive, but it ranges from 19 to 20s and a few different rim selections there. And this year they do allow you to do different wheel packages, which is nice. So also we have to stop. You've got 2-piston caliper brakes on the front, around 14-inch discs, and you actually have 11-inch drums to go back a few years. But nowadays with these electric vehicles, the front of the vehicle is going to take most of that braking, and you have regenerative braking, which this has as well. And one of the nice things is, because they want to make this more familiar for people who are coming out of gasoline vehicles, you do have a coast feature on this, because most electric vehicles have one pedal driving. So this does, which helps charge the battery, but it is a little bit hard to get used to. So you do have that here as well. Now, when we're talking about suspension, it uses the traditional CUV SUV strut front and multi-link in the rear, and Volkswagen is very good at tuning that for handling. And when we come to that, it is on the all-new MEB fully electric platform, modular platform for Volkswagen, shared with a few of the other subsidiary companies that they have, and it is dedicated dedicated to EV. So it's an excellent platform in this configuration. Here you're looking at 2+3, and because it has a dual motor setup, you're looking at around 50-50 weight distribution, and because the batteries and their placement, you have a very low center of gravity, so it definitely helps handling. Now, with that being so, they did give this a little bit more ground clearance compared to a lot of vehicles, so you're around 6.5, a little better than that, inches of ground clearance. So that is also going to affect the handling a little bit, but they've done that on purpose, which I really care for. So you're looking at about 0.82 on the 300-foot skid pad, but where it does really shine as well, it's about 68 decibels on the highway for noise, which is really impressive, and even though it's a bricky shape, 0.28 on the drag coefficient is pretty good. You're looking at a 108.7-inch wheelbase, so again, you're in that kind of Tiguan territory. There's a lot of space in this vehicle. Yeah, there's a lot to like with this chassis, absolutely, and it is one of the few electric vehicles that can actually tow. I believe it ranges anywhere from around 2,000 to 2,700 when you get the bigger battery, like on this one, which is pretty impressive, which is the equivalent to one of these active urban lifestyles hanging off the back of your ID.4. So when we come to cargo, let's talk about cargo next in the back. Okay, now let's start with cargo. So one of the reasons why they kept this shape was to give you more space, that traditional CUV, SUV space. So as you can see, 60-40 split seats across the board, and in that statement package, you're also going to get a center pass-through, which is nice. But yes, 30 cubic feet while those seats are up, worth of space, and over double that when they're down at around 64 cubic feet, which is really decent. You got a 12-volt plug-in back there to make things a little bit more convenient because, again, you have a tire kit and not a full spare on this nowadays. You do have, of course, your cover here to keep your goods hidden, but you also have a dual-level load floor in the back that you see also, which makes it a lot more convenient. You can get that extra little bit of space if you need it, and there's also a convenient little cubby spot under there as well that you can put things like your charging cables. Now, when we come back up here to the back seats, there's not a lot going back here, but not often a lot going on in the back seats of SUVs, CUVs around this price point. Now, this one does only have dual air conditioning or climate control back here, but that statement package does allow you to get the 3-zone. But even when you get the dual zone, as you can see, you still have vents back here to get a little bit more airflow. You have a nice cubby and 2 USB-C ports and convenient little pockets here for your cell phone and whatever else you want down there. And you do have some decent door bins as well. Usually Volkswagen's very good about the practical features. These seats are just fine back here. So let's move up front to where you're going to be spending most of your time. Okay, now let's do our facts up front. We start off with our steering wheel like we always do. Really like the steering wheel, like the way it looks, like the way it feels. Very sporty looking, feels very meaty and nice. It does have manual, telescopic, and tilting, which is nice for adjustment on there. Now, some people are not going to like that you got piano black haptic touch buttons on the steering wheel, but that's just the way things are going. And I personally like the gloss black. I know it drives everyone bonkers because of smudges and everything else like that, but it does look nice. The only thing that I have to say with these capacitive buttons, they do feel pretty neat. Normally we don't talk about the feels on this spot, but they do work pretty well that way, but they are very sensitive, so you do brush your hand against it and stuff happens. But all in all, for these type of buttons, they do work pretty good. Now, also attached to the steering wheel is this your gauge cluster here, an electronic one. It looks very small in the video, it looks very small in pictures, but because of how clear and crisp it is, as you can see, it does work really, really well. You do have this view button over here. It's really only 3 views, but what you can do is basically take any of the 3 sides that this screen is broken into and make any one of them bigger. And it does, it gives you the pertinent information that you need. It works really well, and attached to it is this strange little knob here, which is how you're going to switch gears. So that is going to be a little bit different for some people, but not really. A lot of vehicles nowadays got some sort of button or something you twist. It's not your conventional, automatic shifter really nowadays with a lot of these. So you're going to twist it forward to go and drive, twist it back to go in reverse, push the button to go and park, and when it's in park, it actually engages the parking brake for you as well. And this is a really interesting vehicle too, because you just hop in and go. So that's going to be a little different for some folks as well. So as long as you got that key in your pocket, all you need to do is put your foot on the brake, put it on drive or reverse, and away you go. Now, one of the other things for familiarity as well is a lot of people are not used to one pedal braking. So if you're not sure what that is, a lot of electric vehicles nowadays, to help regenerate and recoup some of that energy, when you take your foot off the accelerator pedal, it applies some regenerative braking force, which helps build up that battery power. But it is a little weird because normally when you take your foot off the accelerator pedal, you coast. But they've thought about that, and what you can do on this vehicle, it says DB, B for brakes. All you need to do is give it one more twist forward, and it will put it in more of like a coast motor and more SUV type mode for you there. And when we move over to the infotainment, because that is so important nowadays, is beautiful, upgraded. I believe it's a 12-inch screen, whatever size it is. It looks really nice. And one of the things that I really appreciate with this is the fact that it is very much like a smartphone. They try to lay it out in its design like a smartphone. You even have a home button over here. And just the colors, how crisp, clear, and responsive it is. It's probably the most responsive screen I've seen. And it's very crisp and clear. It even has this little slider down here, like your phone, to where you can adjust the brightness and things like that. Yeah, and of course, they've eliminated the hard buttons, which is going to be a bit of a complaint for some people, but I have to say it's not that bad. Things do work pretty well on this with the electronic buttons, and they've put a lot of things down here, electronic or not, that you're going to use all the time, like your parking, your climate, your safety systems, changing through your modes. And up here, you're going to be able to quickly up or down change your temperature, and as you can see, that works really, really well. You can, on that slider, again, change your audio and your volume up and down, and again, that works really well. The only thing that's a little deceptive and strange is on the screen here, it shows you your heated seats, but when you touch it, all it does is bring up that climate menu, and you've got to hit it again. But it's nice that it does have heated seats, and you've got a heated steering wheel as well, and that's how you're going to adjust the fan speed, things like that. So, there are some things that aren't the best with it, but you can get that with any infotainment. And I have to say, after seeing this and using it, it's not nearly as bad as what people were saying, and it's actually really, really good, especially the user interface and how quickly it responds. Now, these seats are very comfortable. Now, they're manual on this one, but if you get that statement package amongst a lot of other things, you're looking at $4,000 or $5,000 for that package. But aside from things like the illuminated badges, more ambient colors in here, and a lot of flashy things like the door handles light up and stuff like that, they do have some interesting practical features like that as well to keep in mind. Upgraded seats, you're going to be able to get the 8-way power, memory for lumbar, things like that. No ventilation on this vehicle because some of the material choices. But yeah, the seats are comfortable, work well, fair amount of adjustment on there, work well with the steering wheel adjustment, things like that. The inputs on this car are pretty good. The other thing that Volkswagen is very good at is practicality, and that's what you're going to want in an SUV or CUV. So you got lots here. You've got the center storage console here. Again, on that statement package, you're going to have more adjustability with that one and flexibility. But even on this one, I like the way it's laid out. You've got 2 big cup holders. You've got your wireless charger in here, and that's the other thing to keep in mind. All models are wireless charging and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But again, you get a little bit different space in the center console if you upgrade to the statement package. And regardless, you do have a nice deep cavity here that's felt lined to stop things from rattling around. And you have a nice big glove compartment, and as well you have good usable door pockets. But again, Volkswagen is always really good at that stuff. This vehicle here is jam full of safety features right from the base all the way through, which again, I really appreciate. These companies are doing that nowadays. So not to get into all that stuff, but you basically have like your blind spot monitoring, your lane keep, emergency braking, the main non-semi-autonomous driving suites. It's not a Tesla, it's not going to drive itself, but it's got that amazing lane keep, works really well, things like that. So lots and lots of safety features that it comes with. And again, it has this beautiful upgraded panoramic fixed sunroof. And one of the things I like with it too is you can have the sunshade, but you can stop it wherever that you like. And it really does help keep out the light if you have kids back there or anyone that's just trying to get a little nap. What else to talk about up here is the fact of pricing. So in Canada, This is, as we said, the very first fully electric vehicle for Volkswagen. So it's going to be one of their more expensive vehicles in the lineup, but that base model does come in at a very respectable price, as you can see. So there is quite a range of pricing on there. So basically in Canada, you're going to pick either you want the rear wheel drive, smaller battery entry, or if you want to upgrade that, you can get still rear wheel drive, as you can see, and upgrade that to the Pro version for that more power, or you can upgrade to the all-wheel drive Pro, which is automatically going to come with that bigger battery. And then from there, you have a few different wheel options. As we said, you got a black roof option on there. You have the fixed roof, and you also have that statement package if you really want to set yourself apart. But even at the base model level, it looks the part. It's a very nice vehicle and has tons and tons of equipment. So let's take this for a drive and test out everything to see how they feel, because that's the most important. Next is our Canadian cargo test, because you never know when a Game of Roadhockey is going to break out in Canada, and you always want to make sure you're prepared. So we'll open up the tailgate, and on that statement edition, or statement package, this is power with a nice convenient preset button. So in case you're shorter, you can do that. Now this seat is going to have to fold down from the inside, and as you can see, prepared. Now, next test is, does this vehicle that I gave up my sports car for and to help the environment with even work for what I need it for? So here we go. As you can see, the doors open up a decent amount, not the full way. Voila. Okay, here's where we do our quick turnaround test. Like we forgot to plug this thing in before we left. So here we go. Let's see how much of a nightmare this thing is to turn around quickly. Here we go. Okay, we gotta twist our little thing here. Oh, watch out. And, ooh. All right, we're gonna get plugged in. And here's our quick backup test, like we wanna back it into a spot to show it off. So here we go. We put it into reverse by twisting it backwards. That comes on. And as you can see, we got dynamic lines. Okay, and here's where we do our traffic light Grand Prix acceleration test. Like we want to rush up to that stoplight as fast as we can and hammer on the brakes. So let us put it in sport mode, because that's the best way to do that super fast. All right, so we got our foot on the brake. We're going to put the regenerative braking on to help us stop. So here we go. All right. Woo! Not bad. Oh, we're up to that light. Hammer on the brakes. Ooh. Not bad. Okay, and here's where we do our highway test. It's kind of a hybrid in between our cruise test and our handling test, just to give an idea how this thing gets on the highway and handles around tight corners, fast sweeping corners, and just how it feels cruising along on the highway. So here we go. All right, so we got ourselves the on-ramp here. And as you can see, we're cooking along pretty good. Catching up to this Ford here. It handles really, really well. Like obviously you can feel that almost 5,000 pounds, but it definitely doesn't feel like 5,000 pounds. You know, when they say it drives like a GTI, I have a GTI. It feels very similar in the sense of it's very tight steering, not a lot of body roll. It's pretty darty. Feels really precise for this type of vehicle. Yeah, it really, really does. Pretty close to the GTI, if I'm fair. It's obviously not a GTI. And as far as they say about the Tiguan and the space, as you can see, there was tons of space in here, definitely. And I had it up near a Tiguan. It looks like it might even be a bit bigger. And I pulled up behind a RAV4 as well. So it's definitely that. And as far as that purpose goes, that they said of that Beetle, the original rear-wheel drive Beetle, bringing it to the masses, that kind of brings us into the styling. I do feel that this is the case with this. you know, I am one of those people that's not quite ready to move over, mainly for infrastructure and things like that, and I still like my sports car. I'd probably want both. But realistic, I like the way that this looks. You know, I'm kind of indifferent overall on the look, but I like the way that it's more of a conventional type looking SUV, and I like Volkswagen, hence why I own one, and why I like Volvo as well. They're one of those vehicles where you can dress them up or dress them down. They're not too flashy, but you can definitely take them nice places because they are a very nice vehicle. You know, what else to talk about? We also often say this is our time to rant and rave about the vehicle. I really enjoyed my time with the vehicle today. Yeah, I haven't used a ton of range, considering all that I've done. You know, in comparison to some other EV vehicles that I've done, it really does handle nice. It really, really is one of the nicest handling CUVs I've driven, period, let alone a big, heavy EV. So that looks and works pretty well. And as we're cruising along here, I don't get a ton of wind noise. Now, it's a little bit more exaggerated, of course, because you don't have any engine noise. But all in all, it's very, very quiet. As we said, 68 decibels on the highway around the traveling speed that I'm going right now. Yeah, I really enjoy the vehicle. You know, the only reason why, you know, you would need to worry about range is if you're one of those really small percentage of people that does a lot of traveling and you happen to be somewhere where it's more remote, especially where we live in Canada. The infrastructure is not that great yet. But for most people, you know, you're looking at over 400 kilometers worth of range. As we said, that's plenty, and you can charge it in overnight with a level 2 charger. Yeah, I have to say, it really is a nice driving vehicle. Feels good on the highway, and it feels good handling. I'd say it passes. Now, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and check out one of our other related SUV EV reviews so we can get more cool cars like this one and our upcoming review. Now, we started off this review, like always, to test the facts against the feels for the all-new 2023 Volkswagen ID.4. Now, here are the facts and feels that we used to come up with this final thought. Now, if you're currently in the market for new CUV, SUV, and you have something like a Tiguan, CRV, or a RAV4, and you're kind of on the fence, I don't think that you can go wrong with the all-new fully electric ID.4 because of the fact that they have kept this philosophy of trying to bridge the gap for a lot of us who are on the fence. So you do have a much more familiar look, which also gives you a lot more traditional type space that you're used to. It does have relatively fast charging. When you get the bigger battery like this, you've got lots of range. You know, you're looking at around 411 kilometers, which is plenty for most people. And as we said, if you do DC fast charging, it's pretty fast. And if you upgrade to that level 2 charging for home, you're going to be able to fill this up or fill up that battery overnight. So for most people, this is going to be completely adequate. And the fact that this can tow a couple thousand pounds to let you get out and do some fun stuff as well, I think this is a really good vehicle, and it does definitely bridge the gap. And it's nice to see that EVs are coming in a lower price class for the rest of us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.